Thank you all for being here. The budget is now 39 days late, and it is being blocked by a few Senate Republicans, but it's not being blocked on budget issues. Republicans, simply put, want to suspend California's Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, for 3 years as their price for voting for the budget. Demand is not a budget issue. It was never brought up during the entire 6 months of budget hearings that went from the time the governor announced his budget until the middle of June. It was never introduced as a separate piece of legislation during that time. It only surfaced on July 20th, and it surfaced immediately as a so-called drop-dead issue. And it was on the heels of a letter that was sent by the State Chamber of Commerce, WISPA, which is the Association of Oil Refiners and Oil Companies in the state, and the Builders Association. They immediately began a very intense lobbying effort. Shortly thereafter, they wrote a bill that the Republicans sponsored that would basically eviscerate CEQA. It would return California to the days where L.A. was known as the smog capital of the world, which, by the way, has now been transferred to the Inland Empire. San Bernardino and Riverside counties are the two dirtiest air counties in the country. It would cancel protections that we've come to take as a matter of course. Protections against oil spills, toxic emissions at refineries, protections that keep our waterways and oceans safe, water clean, and stop developers from tearing up open space to promote sprawl and congestion. I'm here today for one reason and one reason only, to remove any doubt or ambiguity about where I am, where my caucus is. I will not bargain away California's environment to oil refiners or multi-state developers. If you remember the movie The Fugitive, Tommy Lee Jones at one point said, "I don't bargain." That would be applicable here. I will not be blackmailed by the business lobby who would jeopardize the health of California for its narrow financial purposes. I will not give a minority of the minority who are so willing to hold folks in nursing homes, kids in classrooms, students in community colleges hostage for an issue that not only has nothing to do with the budget, but is something that is fundamental to California life. There really are very few primary values in California politics, but protecting the environment is one of them. If you don't believe it by just walking around, poll after poll after poll indicates that Californians, Democrats, Republicans, independents alike, say the environment is a primary issue for them. It's not, therefore, a partisan issue. It's not about Republicans. It's not about Democrats. It's about California. It is a California issue. But if my Republican colleagues need a public reality check, here it is. I will not bargain on California's environment. There will be no negotiations on CEQA. End of sentence. If we need to do anything, and we had talked about this, we would do it outside the budget, the way normal business is conducted, not in the hour of midnight when lobbyists are lurking around providing language that in the last minute becomes the issue upon which the entire future of the state is positioned. So we will not bargain this issue. We are finished bargaining. It is shameful that this issue, being promoted by special interests, is holding up the budget and everything that the budget provides. We have one job in the legislature that we should do annually, pass the budget. If we don't do that, we have failed. Nothing else matters. So today we are here for that simple message. I am joined by Darrell Steinberg, the senator from Sacramento. He happened to be available.
Flew back from out of town.
He also is not surrendering per diem. Darrell chairs the committee on natural resources and the environment, has been intimately involved with a lot of issues that, frankly, he's been able to work in a bipartisan manner on flood control, clean water, a number of issues that prove that the Democrats in this side, at least, are able to work across the aisle. Darrell.
Thank you very much, Senator Perata. And on behalf of your caucus, we want to thank you for hanging tough on behalf of California's environment. Let's take a moment and remember what we're talking about here. We're talking about a California Environmental Quality Act that was passed in 1969 and signed by Republican Governor Ronald Reagan. I, like many of you, have been through a number of these late budget seasons. And I can remember the budget being late because of fundamental differences around tax policy or around spending priorities. This is the worst thing I have ever seen because it has nothing to do with the budget itself. And let's step back for another moment and look at what this issue is really about. Senator Perata said a moment ago that the counties at issue have among the worst air quality in the state and in the nation. Do our Republican colleagues really believe that the issues of land use and climate change have nothing to do with one another? Do they really believe that the way we grow has nothing to do with the quality of our air or the congestion on the roadways? They are out of the mainstream. They are out of touch. If they are holding up payments due to schools, due to health care providers, due to nursing homes, because they philosophically believe there is no relationship between the way we grow and the state of our climate, they're wrong. They're wrong to hold up the budget, and they're wrong on the merits of the issue. Pass the state budget. Thank you.
Let me just conclude by a couple of personal examples about what's at stake here. First of all, if you live where I live in Oakland, this budget is striking at the heart of the people that I'm here to represent. I've been stopped in the 3 days that I've been going back and forth at a coffee shop by people who are child daycare workers who say that our working families, our working mothers, our working fathers are able to have child care because of the budget stalemate. We had an international incident where a journalist was gunned down in broad daylight last week. Subsequent to that, there were 8 more street murders in Oakland. The governor has just sent extra CHP officers to help police the streets. There's money in this budget to deal with that problem. It is being held up. So those are the real issues that people are struggling with. And you compare that with an issue that is really extraneous to the budget. And if anybody would stop and think about it politically for 10 seconds, if we capitulated, which we will not, and that bill were to go over to the Senate, the Assembly, it would never make it out of there because Fabian Nunez is not going to share a view different from mine on this subject. And if by some miraculous occurrence it went to the governor's desk, would the governor sign this bill? The backdrop of Time Magazine and Newsweek declaring him as the enforcer or terminator of bad emissions? He would sign that? I mean, what kind of world are you living in if you believe that those are the political realities and that you can put a barrel of a gun to somebody's head and say, either do this or we're going to hold our breath? Now, I ask my Republican colleagues, 1, 5, I don't care. One's plenty. One to sacrifice, if need be. One vote to allow this hostage free. One vote in the commitment that as we have with everything else, we will be happy to sit down and talk about legitimate issues. But rest assured, if this budget is not passed by the time we get back in session, that is, when the Assembly's back, the Senate will take up no legislation, none. So all the water issues that are near and dear to Californians that the Republicans have been saying last month were the key issues will not be dealt with. They will not only be holding hostage the people I care about, they're going to be holding hostage the people that they represent. So it's time for clarity. It's time to make things unambiguous. We will not bargain CEQA away. We will protect California's environment. There is no reason to say we are here to negotiate, even if they were. There is no more negotiations. We are finished. The only thing that remains is for those Republicans to understand that what they asked for was overreaching. They wanted to get by another means that they couldn't get normally. Well, we're not going to do it. And we won't do it. And it's clear, I hope, that every single member of that caucus, if they're not clear about exactly what's going on, here's what's going on. It's done. It's over. We're finished.